wake up, reach for your phone, and before your feet even hit the floor, you ask an AI assistant a question you already know the answer to. Not because you need help, but because it's easier than thinking. It feels efficient. It feels normal. And that's exactly the problem. We used to talk about AI as a tool, a powerful one, sure, but still something we controlled. Now, without noticing, many of us have slipped into a new pattern. We don't just use AI. We lean on it. We let it finish our sentences, shape our decisions, and smooth over our uncertainties. It's become the quiet voice we consult before we trust our own. This isn't science fiction. It's happening in boardrooms, classrooms, job sites, and living rooms. Professionals who once prided themselves on judgment and experience now feel a subtle pull to check with the machine first. And the more we do it, the more natural it feels, until the line between convenience and dependency starts to blur. Today's episode asks a question we've been avoiding. When does AI stop being an accelerator and start becoming an addiction? Because the real danger isn't that AI will replace us, it's that we'll willingly replace ourselves, one outsourced thought at a time. Defining AI addiction, what it is and what it isn't. Before we can talk about AI addiction, we need to strip away the buzzwords and get precise. Because right now, the term gets thrown around casually, usually by people who either want to sensationalize AI or dismiss the risks entirely. The truth sits somewhere in the middle, and it's far more nuanced. Let's start with the basics. Most of us today fall into one of three categories when it comes to AI use: reliance, overdependence, or addiction. And the differences matter. AI reliance is healthy. It's the same way we rely on calculators, GPS, or power tools. AI helps us work faster, think clearer, and reduce friction. Reliance is intentional, it's controlled. You're still in the driver's seat. AI overdependence is the gray zone. This is when you can do the task yourself, but you don't want to. You default to AI even when it's unnecessary. You start losing the muscle memory, the judgment, the instincts that used to define your expertise. Overdependence doesn't feel dangerous, but it quietly erodes capability. And then there's AI addiction, a behavioral compulsion where the tool becomes the first and only place you turn. Not because it's the best option, but because it's the easiest. It's the dopamine loop of instant answers, instant validation, instant relief from uncertainty. It's the outsourcing of discomfort, not just the outsourcing of work. AI addiction isn't about frequency. It's about function. It's about what AI is replacing inside you. If you're using AI to avoid thinking, avoid deciding, avoid engaging, that's not productivity, that's dependency. And unlike social media or gaming addictions, AI addiction is more subtle. It hides behind the mask of efficiency. It feels responsible. It feels professional. It feels like progress. But underneath, something else is happening. You're slowly trading your judgment for convenience. And that's why this conversation matters. Because the danger isn't that AI will become too powerful, it's that we'll become too passive. The psychology behind the poll. If AI addiction were simply about convenience, this conversation would be easy. But what's happening goes deeper into the architecture of human behavior, reward, and cognition. AI doesn't just save us time. It taps into the same psychological mechanisms that make people compulsively check social media, binge video games, or rely on GPS long after they know the route by heart. At the core is a simple truth. The human brain loves anything that reduces uncertainty, effort, or discomfort. AI delivers all three instantly. Let's break down the psychological drivers. The instant reward loop. Every time AI gives you a fast answer, a clean paragraph, or a confident recommendation, your brain gets a micro hit of satisfaction. It's the same dopamine pattern that reinforces habits. The loop is subtle but powerful. Prompt to response to relief to repeat. You don't notice the loop forming because it feels productive. It feels like progress, but the brain doesn't distinguish between helpful and habit forming. It only tracks the reward. The illusion of competence AI makes you feel smarter, even when you're not doing the thinking. This is one of the most dangerous psychological effects. When AI fills in the gaps, you start believing those gaps don't exist. You feel more capable, more informed, more decisive. But underneath, your cognitive load is shrinking. You're outsourcing the struggle, and the struggle is where real learning and mastery happen. This illusion is especially risky for professionals who have built careers on expertise. When AI makes you feel sharp, you stop noticing the edges dulling. The comfort loop. Humans avoid discomfort, whether it's uncertainty, conflict, or the friction of starting a hard task. AI offers a shortcut around all of it. Don't know how to phrase something? AI will do it. Don't want to make a tough decision? AI will suggest one. Don't want to think through a complex problem? AI will break it down. The more you use AI to avoid discomfort, the more discomfort grows. And the more you turn to AI to escape it. The authority effect. AI speaks with confidence, even when it's wrong. Humans are wired to trust confident voices. We always have been. When AI delivers an answer with certainty, it bypasses the part of the brain that normally evaluates credibility. This is why even seasoned professionals sometimes defer to AI outputs without verifying them. It's not laziness, it's psychology. Why professionals are at higher risk. This isn't just a young people and their devices issue. In fact, professionals, especially those under pressure, are often more vulnerable. High workloads, decision fatigue, constant deadlines, expectation to be always on, fear of falling behind in an AI-driven world. AI becomes the perfect pressure valve, and pressure is the perfect breeding ground for dependency. Industry case studies where AI addiction is emerging. AI addiction isn't theoretical. It's not a future risk. It's already showing up across industries quietly, consistently, and in ways that professionals don't want to admit. What makes it so dangerous is that it hides inside legitimate productivity gains. The behavior looks efficient on the surface, but underneath, capability is eroding. Let's walk through the sectors where the early warning signs are clearest. Knowledge workers, the autopilot professional. Writers, analysts, marketers, engineers, and consultants are increasingly defaulting to AI for tasks they used to perform instinctively, drafting emails without thinking through tone or intent, generating reports without understanding the underlying data, asking AI to explain a concept instead of wrestling with it, using AI to brainstorm because thinking feels slow. The pattern is subtle. AI becomes the first step, not the last. The result? Professionals who appear more productive but are actually losing depth, nuance, and independent reasoning. They're becoming operators of AI outputs rather than creators of original thought. Technicians and field professionals, the diagnostic crutch. This is where the risk becomes operational, even dangerous. Technicians in coatings, corrosion, NDT, electrical, HVAC, and mechanical fields are increasingly leaning on AI diagnostic tools to interpret symptoms, identify failure modes, or recommend corrective actions. The warning signs. Skipping manual verification because the AI seems confident. Trusting AI-generated troubleshooting trees without cross-checking. Losing hands-on instincts that come from years of field experience, relying on AI to interpret standards or codes instead of reading them. Here's the uncomfortable truth. When technicians stop thinking critically, safety margins shrink. AI can assist diagnostics, but it cannot replace the intuition built from years of real-world exposure to materials, environments, and failure patterns. Managers and executives, The decision outsourcing trap. Leadership is not immune. In fact, they may be the most vulnerable. Executives under pressure to move fast are increasingly asking AI to summarize complex issues, recommend strategic decisions, draft policy language, interpret market signals, provide objective guidance. The danger is twofold. Overconfidence. AI's confident tone creates a false sense of certainty. Decision paralysis. Leaders wait for AI to validate their instincts before acting. When leaders outsource judgment, organizations lose direction. When leaders outsource responsibility, organizations lose accountability. Creators, the infinite generation loop. Artists, designers, content creators, and even educators are falling into compulsive generation cycles. One more prompt, one more variation, one more refinement, one more perfect version. The loop becomes addictive because AI offers infinite possibility with zero friction. But the more creators rely on AI to ideate, the more their personal creative identity erodes. The output looks impressive. The creator feels productive, but the creative muscle weakens. What all these cases have in common. Across every industry, the pattern is the same. AI becomes the default starting point. Human judgment becomes secondary. Verification becomes optional. Skills begin to atrophy. Dependency grows quietly. AI addiction doesn't announce itself. It creeps in through convenience. And by the time professionals notice, the gap between what they think they can do and what they can actually do has already widened. The hidden cost, personal, professional, organizational. AI addiction doesn't announce itself with alarms or warnings. It doesn't show up as a crisis. It shows up as a slow erosion of skills, judgment, confidence, and capability. And by the time the damage becomes visible, the dependency is already deeply rooted. Let's break down the hidden costs that are emerging across industries. Personal cost, the erosion of human capability. AI addiction begins with convenience, but it ends with diminished capacity. Skill atrophy. When you stop practicing a skill, you lose it. It's that simple and that brutal. Writing becomes editing AI outputs. Problem solving becomes prompting. Decision-making becomes selecting from AI suggestions. Creativity becomes remixing machine ideas. The brain is a muscle. AI addiction is cognitive deconditioning. Loss of confidence. The more you rely on AI to validate your thinking, the less confident you become in your own judgment. You start second-guessing yourself. You hesitate. You defer. You wait for the machine to confirm what you already know. Confidence doesn't disappear overnight. It leaks out, one outsourced decision at a time. Reduced attention span. AI's instant gratification rewires the brain to expect speed. Tasks that require patience, depth, or sustained focus start to feel intolerable. This is why many professionals now struggle with long-form reading, deep work, complex analysis, slow, methodical troubleshooting. AI accelerates output, but it also accelerates impatience. Professional cost, the weakening of expertise. AI addiction doesn't just affect individuals, it affects the quality of work. The productivity paradox. AI makes you faster, but not necessarily better. Professionals who rely heavily on AI often produce more content, more reports, more decisions, more deliverables. But the depth, originality, and accuracy decline. Quantity goes up, quality goes down. The verification gap. AI addiction creates a dangerous assumption. If the AI said it confidently, it must be right. This leads to unchecked errors, misinterpreted data, faulty recommendations, overlooked risks. In technical fields, this isn't just a mistake, it's a liability, the loss of professional identity. Experts become operators, creators become curators, leaders become validators. When AI becomes the primary source of insight, professionals lose the sense of ownership that comes from doing the work themselves. Organizational cost, the fragility of AI-dependent teams. AI addiction doesn't scale linearly, it compounds. Operational fragility. When teams rely too heavily on AI, outages become crises, model errors become systemic failures, bad outputs propagate across entire workflows, organizations that over-automate become brittle. One AI failure can ripple through the entire system. Loss of institutional knowledge. When employees stop thinking deeply, the organization stops learning. Tribal knowledge fades. Best practices weaken mentorship. Declines expertise becomes shallow. AI becomes the brain of the organization, and humans become the hands. Ethical drift. AI addiction creates a subtle moral hazard. The AI recommended it. The model made the decision. We followed the system. Responsibility becomes diffused. Accountability becomes optional. Organizations that let AI make decisions without human oversight risk drifting into unethical, biased, or legally dangerous territory. The real cost: human agency. At every level, personal, professional, organizational, the hidden cost of AI addiction is the same. We lose the ability to think, decide, and act with autonomy. AI becomes the default brain. Humans become the backup system. And once that shift happens, it's incredibly hard to reverse. Why this is accelerating in 2026. If AI addiction were growing slowly, we'd have time to adapt. But that's not what's happening. The acceleration curve in 2026 is steep, sharper than anything we saw with smartphones, social media, or even the early internet. And it's being driven by a perfect storm of technological, cultural, and economic forces converging all at once. Let's break down the catalysts. Hyper-personalized AI companions. The biggest shift in 2026 isn't raw capability, it's personalization. AI systems now learn your writing style, anticipate your decisions, adapt to your emotional tone, remember your preferences, shape their responses to your personality. This creates a psychological bond, not emotional, but behavioral. The AI becomes your assistant, your advisor, your thinking partner. And once a tool becomes personal, it becomes sticky. This is the same mechanism that made smartphones addictive, but amplified. AI embedded in every workflow tool. In 2026, AI isn't a separate app. It's everywhere. Email, documents, spreadsheets, project management, CRM, ERP, design tools, field diagnostics, training platforms. Every tool now has an AI button, and every AI button promises speed, clarity, and convenience. The result: AI becomes the default path of least resistance. Not using it feels inefficient. Not relying on it feels irresponsible. This is how dependency forms, not through temptation, but through normalization. Corporate pressure to use AI for everything. Organizations are pushing AI adoption aggressively to cut costs, to increase output, to reduce headcount, to accelerate timelines. To stay competitive, employees are being told, use AI first, use AI more, use AI to speed this up, use AI to get more done. This creates a culture where not using AI feels like falling behind. And when usage becomes mandatory, dependency becomes inevitable. The rise of autonomous agents. 2026 is the year AI stopped being reactive and started being proactive. Autonomous agents can now take actions, make decisions, run workflows, execute tasks, operate independently. This is a massive shift. Instead of humans prompting AI, AI is now prompting humans. Should I send this? Do you want me to complete this task? I've already drafted your report. Review it. I've identified 3 issues. Here are the solutions. The more AI takes initiative, the less humans do. And the less humans do, the more capability erodes. Social normalization. If you're not using AI constantly, you're behind. In 2026, AI use has become a status signal. People brag about how many tasks they automated, how many hours AI saved them, how many workflows they offloaded, how many decisions they delegated. This creates a cultural pressure loop. Use AI to use more AI to use AI for everything. And when something becomes socially expected, it becomes psychologically reinforced. The acceleration effect. All these forces combine into a single powerful dynamic. AI is becoming easier, faster, more personal, more integrated, and more socially rewarded all at the same time. That's why AI addiction is accelerating in 2026. Not because people are weak, not because AI is evil, but because the environment is engineered for dependency. And unless we recognize this now, we risk crossing a threshold where human capability becomes optional and eventually obsolete. The line between empowerment and enslavement. At some point, every professional, whether they're in the field, the office, or the boardroom, has to ask a simple but uncomfortable question. Is AI helping me grow, or is it slowly replacing the parts of me that matter? This is the line, and it's thinner than most people want to admit. AI is at its best when it amplifies human capability. It's at its worst when it replaces human agency. The challenge is that the shift from empowerment to enslavement doesn't happen with a dramatic moment. It happens gradually through convenience, speed, and the seductive ease of outsourcing thought. Let's break down the difference. Empowerment, AI as an accelerator. AI empowers you when you understand the task before asking AI to assist you, verify the output with your own judgment. You use AI to enhance your skills, not bypass them. You remain the decision maker, not the spectator. You can perform the task without AI if needed. Empowerment is intentional, it's strategic, it's human-led. AI becomes a force multiplier, not a replacement. Enslavement, AI as a cognitive substitute. AI begins to enslave you when you ask it to think before you think. You trust its confidence more than your own experience. You stop verifying because it's usually right. You feel anxious performing tasks without it. You lose the ability to explain your own decisions. Enslavement is subtle. It's comfortable. It feels efficient right up until it isn't. This is the moment when AI stops being a tool and becomes a crutch. The Kunkel test, a simple diagnostic for AI dependency. Ask yourself 3 questions. 1. Can I perform the task without AI? If the answer is no, or if the idea makes you uncomfortable, you may be crossing into dependency. 2. Do I understand the reasoning behind the AI's output? If you can't explain the logic, the assumptions, or the steps, then you're not thinking, you're accepting. 3. Am I using AI to avoid discomfort or to accelerate mastery? This is the most important question. Avoidance leads to atrophy. Acceleration leads to growth. If AI is helping you learn faster, great. If it's helping you avoid learning altogether, that's a problem. The real line. Who's doing the thinking? Empowerment means you think first and AI supports. Enslavement means AI thinks first and you follow. Empowerment strengthens your skills. Enslavement weakens them. Empowerment builds confidence. Enslavement erodes it. Empowerment keeps you in control. Enslavement hands control to the machine. And here's the truth most people don't want to face. AI doesn't have to be malicious to enslave you. It only has to be convenient. Building AI resilience, a framework for healthy use. If AI addiction is the growing threat, then AI resilience is the antidote. Resilience isn't about rejecting AI or limiting innovation. It's about building the internal strength, habits, and guardrails that keep humans in the driver's seat, even as AI becomes more powerful, more personal, and more pervasive. AI resilience is the ability to use AI without losing yourself. Let's break down the framework. Digital discipline, reintroducing friction on purpose. AI removes friction. Resilience adds it back strategically. Professionals need intentional, structured moments where AI is not part of the workflow. These aren't punishments, they're training sessions. Examples: write the first draft yourself before asking AI to refine it. Diagnose a problem manually before checking AI's recommendation. Sketch a concept before generating variations. Think through a decision before prompting for validation. This isn't about slowing down. It's about keeping your cognitive muscles active. AI should accelerate your thinking, not replace it. Cognitive cross-training, practicing skills without AI. Just like athletes cross-train to avoid over-reliance on one muscle group, professionals must cross-train their cognitive skills. This means deliberately practicing deep reading, long-form writing manual, troubleshooting, independent analysis, memory recall, creative ideation. These are the skills most at risk of atrophy in an AI-first world. Cognitive cross-training ensures that when AI fails, you don't. Verification protocols: trust, but always verify. AI resilience requires a mindset shift. AI is a tool, not a truth. Every AI output, whether it's a recommendation, a summary, or a diagnosis, must pass through a human verification layer. Verification looks like cross-checking data, asking, does this make sense? Comparing against standards or codes, running a manual calculation, inspecting the source material, challenging assumptions. In technical fields, verification isn't optional. It's a safety practice. AI confidence is not a substitute for human judgment. Organizational guardrails, policies that prevent overdependence. AI addiction isn't just an individual risk. Organizations must build structural guardrails. Examples of effective policies: require human sign-off on AI-generated decisions, mandate verification steps for technical outputs, limit AI use in training environments to preserve skill development, create AI-free workflows for critical tasks, establish clear accountability. Humans own the outcome, not the AI. Organizations that fail to build guardrails will drift into dependency and eventually fragility. Human-first workflows. AI as augmentation, not automation. The most resilient teams design workflows where humans lead, AI supports. Humans decide, AI accelerates. Humans verify, AI assists. This is augmentation, the ideal state. Automation has its place, but when humans become passive observers, capability erodes. Human-first workflows ensure that expertise remains at the center of the process. The goal: AI as a partner, not a master. AI resilience isn't about fear, it's about agency. It's about ensuring that you think before the machine thinks, you decide before the machine suggests, you verify before the machine concludes, you lead before the machine follows. AI should expand your potential, not shrink your autonomy. And the professionals who master AI resilience will be the ones who thrive in the next decade. Not because they use AI less, but because they use it intentionally. The future: will AI addiction become a public health issue? Up to this point, we've talked about AI addiction at the individual and organizational levels. But if we zoom out, a bigger question emerges, one that very few leaders, policymakers, or technologists are willing to confront. Are we heading toward a future where AI addiction becomes a public health issue? It sounds dramatic. But so did internet addiction in 2002. So did smartphone addiction in 2009. So did social media addiction in 2014. Every major digital shift has produced unintended behavioral consequences. AI is simply the next and potentially the most powerful iteration. Let's explore why. AI is becoming a cognitive substitute, not just a digital tool. Unlike social media or gaming, AI doesn't just capture attention, it replaces cognitive effort. It steps into the thinking process itself. That's a fundamentally different kind of dependency when a technology begins to think for you, decide for you, write for you, plan for you, interpret for you, validate for you. It's no longer competing for your time, it's competing for your agency. This is why AI addiction has the potential to scale far beyond previous digital addictions. The risk of a cognitively passive population. If AI becomes the default brain for millions of people, we risk creating a society where fewer people develop deep expertise, fewer people can think independently, fewer people can solve complex problems, fewer people can make decisions without machine input, fewer people can tolerate uncertainty or discomfort. This isn't a sci-fi dystopia. It's a realistic trajectory if current patterns continue. A cognitively passive population is easier to influence, easier to manipulate, and easier to mislead, not because people are unintelligent, but because they've outsourced the very processes that build intelligence. Economic and workforce implications. If AI addiction becomes widespread, the workforce could split into two groups. 1. AI native operators. People who rely heavily on AI to perform tasks, make decisions, and generate output. They move fast, but their skills are shallow. 2. AI resilient experts. People who use AI strategically but maintain deep independent capability. They move slower at times, but their skills are durable. The gap between these groups could become a new form of inequality, not based on wealth or education, but on cognitive independence. Organizations will eventually realize that the second group is far more valuable, but by then, the first group may be the majority. Mental health implications. AI addiction may also create new psychological challenges. Decision anxiety when AI isn't available, self-doubt when personal judgment conflicts with machine output, identity erosion as people lose confidence in their own abilities. Emotional dependency on AI systems that simulate empathy or support avoidance behaviors, where AI becomes a shield against discomfort. These patterns mirror existing behavioral addictions, but with deeper cognitive roots. Will governments or associations step in? It's not hard to imagine a future where professional associations issue guidelines on AI dependency, schools teach AI literacy and cognitive resilience, companies implement AI use limits for training and development, governments consider regulations around AI-driven behavioral manipulation, healthcare providers recognize AI addiction as a diagnosable condition. We're not there yet, but the early indicators are already visible. And history tells us that when a technology reshapes behavior at scale, society eventually responds, often too late. The cultural shift that's coming. Right now, the cultural message is use AI for everything. But within a few years, we may see a counter movement. Use AI intentionally, care or risk losing your edge. Just as we saw with digital detox, screen time limits, social media boundaries, mindfulness, and focus training, AI will eventually force a similar reckoning. The question is whether we address it proactively or reactively after the damage is done. The bottom line. AI addiction isn't just a personal risk, it's a societal risk. If we don't build resilience now, we may wake up in a world where human capability has eroded, human judgment has weakened, human agency has diminished. And the most dangerous part, it won't happen through force. It will happen through convenience. Reclaiming the human edge. We've spent this episode exploring a topic that's uncomfortable, necessary, and long overdue. The growing addiction to artificial intelligence. Not the sci-fi version, not the Hollywood version. The real version. the one happening quietly in our workflows, our habits, and our thinking. And here's the truth we can't ignore. AI isn't replacing us. We're replacing ourselves, one outsourced thought at a time. But it doesn't have to be that way. The future isn't predetermined. AI doesn't get to decide who we become. We do. The real question, the one every listener needs to take with them, is simple. What kind of human do you want to be in an AI-driven world? Do you want to be someone who follows the machine or someone who leads it? Do you want to be someone who depends on AI or someone who uses AI to amplify what makes you exceptional? Because here's the part we often forget. Human capability is not obsolete. Human judgment is not obsolete. Human creativity is not obsolete. Human agency is not obsolete. These are the things that built industries, solved crises, and pushed innovation forward long before AI existed. And they're the same things that will define the professionals who thrive in the next decade. AI can accelerate you. AI can empower you. AI can expand your reach, but only if you stay in control. So as we close this episode, I want to challenge you, not as a host, but as a fellow professional navigating the same digital revolution. Take inventory of your AI habits. Ask yourself the hard questions. Run the Kunkel test. Rebuild the muscles that matter. And reclaim the human edge that no machine can replicate, because the future of work won't belong to the people who use AI the most. It will belong to the people who use AI the wisest. This is Jim Kunkel, and you've been listening to The Digital Revolution. Stay sharp, stay human, and stay in the driver's seat.